Guys, this is the Laying Foundations podcast. This is your co-host Davis Hambrick. Joining alongside me today is co-host Walker Lott. How you doing today, Walker?
Good, Davis. How you doing today, man? I'm excited to get this started.
Yeah, I'm excited too. Thanks for joining me today. Today is an awesome opportunity to learn from a young professional in the construction industry. Today we will be talking with Jordan Nickolson. Jordan is a building science graduate from Auburn University. I had the unique opportunity to interview Jordan while I was conducting thesis research, and I thoroughly enjoyed my time with him, of getting to know him from the construction standpoint, but also, what makes him tick outside of work. So without further ado, Jordan Nickolson. What's up, Jordan?
Hey guys, how's it going? Glad to be a part of this. Davis, like you said, it was awesome getting to talk to you the first go around talking through thesis, and uh, life's good, man. Just living it out here in Austin, building away, and enjoying stuff outside of work, but also loving what I'm doing as well.
That's awesome, Jordan. This is our first time meeting, so I've
Yeah,
never gotten the opportunity to meet you before. But glad to be here. Glad to meet you, and kind of in person, I guess, if you call Zoom.
yeah, same, man.
But Jordan, since I've never talked to you before, man, what's your role? What do you do? What company you work for? Just tell us a little about yourself.
Yeah, so I'm a project engineer with Austin Commercial. Found Austin through the career fair at Auburn, and my role coming in, starting out, is really your first year. You start as document management, so you're handling all RFIs, submittals, just kind of getting in the weeds of the project, learning the communication stuff back and forth with owners and design team. And so where I'm at now, I've been here 4 years, and my technical title, I'm project engineer 1, and my next step will be into project manager 2, and then up to PM 1. But right now, on this project, I'm handling food service, landscape, really the two big, bigger scopes that I'm on, and helping out here and there with like specialties, and uh, flagpoles were assigned to me after the guy that contracted them out took off to another project, but that was simple. They were there 4 hours installing, so they were an easy one. But yeah, day to day is just staying in the weeds of the project. You start out, got all of my submittals and shop drawings, product data approved, and now we're in the install phase. And stadium, I'm on a soccer stadium, Austin FC team here in Austin, so it's been fun.
Yeah, that's awesome, Jordan. You talked a lot about some stuff that probably doesn't make sense to a lot of people that maybe be tuning in the first time. But let's kind of go backwards and backtrack here. Maybe tell us about, your background of how you got into construction, maybe what you did in high school and in college. Did you start out with a declared major construction? How did that work out?
Yeah, so really, I guess my interest, I'd always liked working with my hands growing up. I mean, I started cutting grass when I was in 3rd grade and making money doing it in 6th grade. But then in high school, went on a mission trip with our church. My dad and I went. It was Carpenters for Christ. And first summer, we went up to, I guess it was going in my sophomore year. We went to Lincoln County, Kentucky, and built a church there. And then the next summer went to Warrensburg, Missouri, and it was a 16-hour bus ride from Montgomery, Alabama, to the northwest corner of Missouri. And
My
that's where
goodness.
yeah, that's where it all sparked.
It's a ways.
Was talking to a guy that was a civil engineer and for a living, and he was like, "Yeah, you can do construction for a living." And I was like, "All right, that's pretty cool." And got to Auburn, I was like, "Well, I guess I need to be a civil engineer," and that route did not end well for me. And uh, eventually found building science after about 2 years, and I was like, this is what I'm cut out for. This is where I'm meant to be, and excelled in it. Made really good friends through the program. Great professors through the building science program at Auburn, and couldn't be more thankful for them. And learned a lot, got excited about it, and got an internship in Austin, Texas, and here I am.
Oh man, that's awesome. I love that story. So when you got into Auburn, did you originally want to go into, or the building science program, did you really originally want to go in like the PM route, or did you know that there were many options, or do you think that maybe your experience with Carpenters for Christ and then kind of working with your hands, is that kind of like the planning aspect, I guess, of that? Did that kind of lead you in that direction? What was your deciding factor of that career choice?
It was really, I didn't know building science existed as a degree option, really. And one of my buddies from high school started in building science and then switched over to landscape design. He was like, yeah, man, building science wasn't for me. And I was like, oh, great. That's another civil engineering story. I probably don't need to get into that. And looked into it and I was like, all right, there was like a 95% graduation rate. I looked at starting salaries for people coming out, and I had to convince my dad that, yeah, Dad, I can switch from civil engineering and still survive as a building science major.
That's awesome. I bet
Yeah,
that was a conversation he had, because I feel like most people growing up, they'll look at like, oh, engineering, what an incredible field. Like that's
yeah,
the field you need to go into. You'll always have a job. I feel like, and what's kind of one of the main purposes of this podcast is just to kind of to show people that the construction industry and the areas related to it are so much bigger and bolder than anyone thinks they are. Because I
yeah.
mean,
And
as
you're
you
exactly
know,
right.
yeah, within the construction industry, there's pre-con, there's operations, there's business development. I mean, you have, there's superintendent, there's project managers, estimating. Like, you have so many different areas you go into. And I know in my experience, I had zero clue about any of them except for superintendent, project manager, and just trades.
Yeah.
Right.
And that's a big thing is, I guess when I got into it, it's like, oh, you have these pathways you can take. You could be a subcontractor, or if you want to go work for a big GC, you're going to be a PM, a superintendent, or you can go that route of pre-con estimating. And so my internship here in Austin was estimating. I did estimating for a summer, and I was like, this is going to suck. I enjoyed it, and ended up like it's almost like coloring, because I was doing just nothing huge, not like structure or anything. It was hardscape, landscape, just kind of counts and square footages, area kind of stuff. And then I hired on with Austin, and I actually did estimating for 2 months when I first started on with Austin out here full time. And then our operations manager came to me one day. He's like, "Hey, what are you working on?" I was like, "Working on this project. I'll finish this up today, tomorrow." And he's a very stern guy. I've gotten to know him and love the guy. He's great, and still an intimidating guy though, but he's funny. And
That's
he's
awesome.
like, "Well, I need you on this project Monday," and I was like, "I'll be there tomorrow," as in Friday. And ended up being on that project for 3 years. But yeah, anybody
Oh,
that's
wow.
going, yeah, it was a doozy of a project.
That's awesome. I think, Jordan, you touched on really a bunch of cool points there, but kind of for the audience that's listening, or really for Walker, one of the things that Jordan and I, bonded over was, hey, we got into Auburn and we were in civil engineering, and guess what? It didn't work out. Now we got to adapt and overcome. And what does that look like? We both end up coming into the building science program. But just let's park here on this topic. Jordan, I know we talked about skilled labor. But really, if you think about it, we talked about this in the aspect of, we get into college and we didn't know what we wanted to do. And to think about how much pressure is on a high school graduate in today's age, that you got to have it all figured out. You got to know what you're going to do in college. You have to go to college, kind of talk on that a little bit if you can.
Yeah, so definitely there's that stigma today of, well, if you don't go to college, like, you're not going to get a job anywhere. Like, you're done. Like, road ends here kind of thing. You're going to work a dead end job that you're going to be miserable. And that's not true in all cases, especially with construction. A guy that works for us, he's a senior super, and I think the guy has like an 8th grade education. One of the smartest people construction wise you will ever meet in your life, and can get anything done. He's our area wide superintendent and just rock star at what he does. Good guy too. But what we had discussed with skilled labor, and I feel like construction as a whole, we have this just kind of aura that you graduate high school, you got to go to college and get a degree. And some people look at construction, they're like, oh, if you don't get a degree, you're going to be a dirty construction worker. And So we have that aspect to us as well. But you go into it, and if you go down the skilled labor route, which we need more of in the construction industry, we're starting to see there's kind of a trend of everybody wants that office job, that people want to work a 9 to 5. If you're in construction on the office side, you're never going to see a 9 to 5 anyway. It's you're going to work at least 50, 55 hours, 60-hour weeks, if not more. But it's all, I mean, you have a love for construction, so it's no sweat. At sometimes you get caught up in what you're doing and love for what you're doing, and you realize, oh wow, I got here at 7 a.m. and it's 6:30 at night. I need to go home.
And that's for sure. Cause the one thing that I learned, because I was pre-med before. So Davis, I learned
Really?
something about you. I didn't know that you were civil engineering before building science, but I was
Mm-hmm.
pre-med, and I thought I wanted to go that track. I was like, man, I love it. This is great. I even got like EMT certified, like everything. My dad's a doctor. He's a chiropractor and a medical doctor, so he's got both of those, and cousins are nurses and everything. So I was on that track. I was like, man, it's great, and ended up transferring schools. And long story short, but got into building science. And as you were just speaking about, kind of my whole life, I heard, you're like, oh, it's just construction, it's blue collar. You can do trade work, you be a steel or welder or concrete, and they're not very smart. They got this, and then I'm like, honestly, I kind of believed it. And then I got into it, because I've always loved Legos and everything else. I'll give it a shot. And so I got into it, and I realized that some of the people in construction, even the ones like you were talking about, people with, eighth grade graduation or whatever, or high school degrees, like there's some of these smartest people I have ever met in my life. Like, you could point to something and they will tell you exactly what it is, where it came from, why you have to do it. I mean, it's crazy. But
Oh yeah.
where do you think, because if you look back in history wise, like high schools used to have a ton of different trade programs, especially the public ones. They would have mechanics, they would have welding, they would have all types of stuff. And then one day, it just kind of stopped. Like, this program stopped. They transferred more to engineering programs and computer science programs, which is very much needed. But why do you think they had such a huge shift away from trades and trade work and learning in that, in those different areas?
Yeah, I think it's one of those things that, I mean, like, because you look at high schools now, and I think it started with like wood shop. Like, schools get rid of their wood shop because, hey, we want to push kids into these STEM programs of science, technology, engineering, mathematics, and we don't want our kids to grow up and go and be a construction or whatever kind of trade. They want them to have that kind of viewed as a better life than that. And so then you get away from the mechanic classes, and then you don't have kids coming from high school wanting to go to trade school, and they get to college because they're forced to almost, and they realize, hey, college isn't for me. Well, that same person could have gone into trade school and learned a trade of really anything, but mostly of what we need: electricians, plumbers, welders, iron workers, guys that are going to go and climb that steel column and strap up in just hang from a building kind of thing. uh, but yeah, we definitely, there's I guess not a priority to go into that, and something we need to do is, after talking with Davis, it kind of got my wheels rolling and thinking, it's like, we got to start getting kids in middle school interested in construction and start building trade schools up and pushing that of, hey, man, you can make a living doing this. You can support a family doing this and have a long career doing it.
Mm-hmm.
Right. I just
Yeah.
think, Debs, I want to butt in real quick. I wanted to bring up like an article I read a couple of weeks ago. And it's just something crazy. It was a crazy number. And it was about electricians. And it was saying that within the next 10 years or so, and I might be butchering this, but within the next 10 years or so, around like 40 to 60% of like electricians in the workforce are going to be retiring. And like, or 20%, it's some very large number. And I heard that. I was like, man, that is crazy, because that is just going to be a massive labor gap, and that, again, like you were saying, that, middle school, high school kids don't realize that that is needed, and they don't realize the incredible opportunity that presents itself. And so I very much agree with you about getting, especially middle school kids, and maybe even elementary kids, going that far back, and just kind of start coaching them up, and letting them know that, hey man, there's so many different options for you in the workforce. I know you don't really think about it right now, but just
Yeah.
keep this in mind.
Yeah, and definitely too. One thing I've liked that I've seen Auburn, the School of Building Science has done, having that summer program of high school kids, bringing them in. I know they started that this year, and kind of 2020 kicked them in the butt with getting more hands-on, I guess, a learning experience for those kids. But it's definitely something like, yeah, let's bring it on. Do a spring break, do a summer, do Christmas break. I mean, we have a full month off at Christmas typically in college. Bring those kids out for 2 or 3 days as they're getting close to their Christmas break, and get them interested, like get their wheels turning and see what they can do in construction. Because Davis, like you did, and Walker as well as I did, you get to Auburn and then you find building science, and then you're like, wow, this is a great program.
Yeah. And I think, just talking on the industry as well as, not only are these guys that you think that aren't very educated, that they don't have the best people skills. Yeah, they may speak a different personality or a different style, but these are still some of the best, most down to earth people I've ever met. And I'm excited every day to wake up and be in the construction industry. I know I'm not there yet. Got just a few more days, so I'm graduated, but I'm really excited. So, um, just transitioning here. We talked about you being a project engineer, and you talked a little bit about your responsibilities. Maybe for people that don't understand, can you kind of tell us, on the job site that you're on right now, what does kind of the project team look like as a whole?
Yeah, definitely. So project to project, your team can look different depending on the size of the project and how you bid the project. Of if you were trying to cut down on your manpower and put together a really good team, like that was last project I was on, we had a killer team. There wasn't as many of us, but out here on the stadium, we've got probably 15, it seems like 15 supers, and then there's like 5 or 6 of us engineers, 2 PM2s that basically just came out of their project engineer roles, but still kind of doing the same thing. Uh, I mean, we're throwing everything at it because it's a huge project with so many different scopes, and you got to have people to handle those scopes. So it's been fun. I love Austin Commercial. It's one of those. I interned with them. I was like, I'll just intern with them in Austin for a summer and then go work in Atlanta or something. Go to Atlanta, Birmingham, Nashville. And after working here in Austin and getting to know this team, I was like, yeah, I want to go back to that. Great company. And even like one of the guys I worked with in my internship ended up working with him for almost 3 years on that first project, and learned a lot from that guy. His name's Josh, just good guy. He's an Aggie, and couple years older than me, a few more years in the industry working than I do, and really learned a lot from him.
Man, that's crazy. That is a huge team of people.
Yeah.
So with that being said, so you mentioned that it is a what is it, minor league soccer stadium or major league soccer stadium?
Yes, MLS.
MLS. Oh, MLS.
Yeah.
Okay. So, man, that's like that's that's a big project, and there's a lot of moving parts in that. What has been
Yeah.
your favorite part of that stadium, either to see or to work on? Like, what's kind of the coolest part of it?
Really is, I mean, I love project team, and just watching as soon as I got out there the first week, I walked the first day I was there, walked the site, didn't walk for like 2 days. I was like kind of getting in the documents, figuring things out, getting my scopes of work and kind of getting grounded in those. Went out 2 days later and I was like, holy crap, these guys are flying. Like it's only my second project, but this is the fastest like I've ever seen people work. And I think that's been my favorite part. Just this time last year, when it's December, we broke ground last September. And we're going to be finished here in like 34 days.
Yeah, that's insane. I mean, that's the other thing about, the stigma with construction that, maybe these aren't the most highly educated people. And it's like, okay, Austin Commercial is about to build a stadium in a little under 2 years, and you think they're not educated people. Like, that's crazy.
Yeah. And it's one of those things like you got to remind yourself, like, we've been doing this for a long time. Like, we know how to build stuff. And whether it be an office building, or a hotel or a soccer stadium, like, well, you go out and in construction, no matter who you work for, you figure out how to build it. As long as you've got the documents, you can build it.
I love that
Yeah.
attitude. I feel like more people need that just go figure it out type of
Yeah.
attitude. I know that I had an internship last summer, and I was with Leighton Construction. We were working on Vanderbilt University. They're building 3 new dorms, massive dorms. It's like total of 500-600 million, something crazy. And then we had a senior super and a senior project manager on that site. And these guys have been in the industry for 40 plus years. Like they've seen it, they've done it, and they had stuff on this project that they had never seen or done before in their life. They're like, we don't know what this is. We don't know how to do this. We've never done this before, but we're going to figure it out. We're going to learn about it, and we're going to get it done. And that's just the type of attitude that you got to have at construction, especially
Yeah.
with so many different projects and so many different scopes of work on each project.
Yeah, definitely. Like the way the industry is going, projects. I mean, you've seen it in college of kind of learning your different forms of building a project. Or you could have design, bid, build. You could be design, build. Well, a lot of projects, big projects, fast moving projects, they all turn into just design, build. It's you get to a spot and you're doing one thing, and whether it's ownership or design team, they come through and they're like, oh yeah, we don't like that, do it this way. I'm like, well, that's time and money. And no, it's not. Yes, it is. So it's always a fun argument, but it's one of those things that you have a good team, and like we're the soccer team, we have a good OAC kind of vibe going on right now with our owner and architect, and we all check each other and kind of put each other in line. But it's you go out and walk, and you're like, hey, we got to figure this out right here. Like this has to be done tomorrow. I need an answer yesterday. Give me something now. And things turn out that way. But it's fun though.
Yeah. I think, Jordan, you touched on a little bit about, and Walker too, we've talked about, the senior leaders that we've had the opportunity to be under. But as a young guy coming out into the construction, or lady, what is a way that you can add value to that older veteran in construction?
Really just, I mean, you're going to soak in a lot of knowledge from them, but also there's a lot of technology entering construction. And it's funny, I'm sure you've talked about it in class and through your internships. These older guys are like, no, give it to me on paper. And you're like, no, do it this way. And so you kind of grind each other's gears a little bit, but what you can offer to them is, I mean, just keeping your nose to the grind, and you just go. And whatever they say, yes sir, yes ma'am, and you get it done. You get it done for them, so that as a company, you're getting it done as a project team.
Yeah, I feel like I feel like that the age gap between the newer generation of construction workers and the older generation of construction workers definitely fight and bicker over the technology aspect of the construction, just the way that it's going nowadays. Because technology is incredible, but I'm a paper guy. Like books, I like to read with paper. I hate
Yeah,
online reading. I hate Kindle. I don't like it. I like to have it on paper, but when it comes to plans and stuff, I'd much rather have it on the computer because you can get there quick. You know where it is. You can save stuff. But a lot of as you were saying, a lot of the supers and everyone else are like, I want to see it on paper. I want to be able to touch it, feel it, draw on it. So with you having been there and kind of seen both sides, and you've kind of seen the difference between being in the classroom and being on a project, what do you say is the biggest gap or biggest difference, learning curve from learning things in class and learning things and even in an internship or just videos or you name it, versus actually being out in the field and having to do it, every day, dive into it? What do you feel like is the biggest difference between those two?
Really, the biggest thing is just even as you see in the industry, as you're learning the project that you're on, you're learning the plans, you're learning the specs, and how to build the thing before you're getting to it. It's really just you get in the field and you'll learn more in the field in a week that you do in months of classroom work. And everybody preaches that, but it's the more you're out there, because no matter what the plans say, it's construction. Like, it's going to change. It changes as you go, whether it be because the slab was poured this way and you got to now move these walls over to here, or whether it's like I was saying, an architect walking and going, no, I don't like the way this turned out. Can we do it this way? And like, it just happened the other day on the project. We're walking through the East Club, and the architect's like, I don't like the Schluter strip here on the column where this tile is. Can we take that off and miter the corners? And we're like, yeah, we can do that. And luckily, as we're just kind of doing a mock-up, so it's pop the Schluter strip off, get a couple of those mitered together, and they signed off on it verbally. We're like, yep, go, and now you can proceed. So it's really just get into the field as much as you can. Like, advice that I can give you: get out of the office, get out from behind the computer. There's going to be days where you feel like you're just glued to your computer screen. You don't take your eyes off of it, but take an hour just to go walk the site, and you're going to learn a lot. Grab a superintendent, grab an older PM, grab your old superintendent. You'll learn a lot from them real quick.
I love that
Yeah.
advice. I think that just getting out and doing it is the best learning the way to learn in general. Now,
Yeah.
what do you say for maybe like a high school student or someone who is maybe didn't go to college, or they're in another field, but they're interested in construction, that they think it's really cool, like they love the aspect of it, but they don't know where to start, they don't know what to do? I mean, do you find that most construction workers, construction companies are pretty open to people calling and asking, or like maybe sitting down for a meeting or just learning more information? Because I feel like a lot of people kind of get, I don't know, intimidated just from construction workers or from big, GCs like that, because they think that they only hire people that know what they're doing, or people who are, quote unquote, rough and tough and fit into the culture. That, I think there's kind of a gap between some people who are interested in it, but they don't quite know how to go about learning more or getting into it.
Yeah, definitely. So I would say for a high schooler, I would start there. If you're interested in construction and think like, hey, I could do this for a living, go out and do the rough and tough stuff. Like, go find a GC in your town, a contractor that they just build homes, or they build little strip malls or whatever. Go work for them, go frame walls, go get your hands dirty a little bit and see that side of it. And then also talk to them, say it high school and college, of, hey, I think I might want to be a PM in construction. They can get you looking at plans, and you'll find some that are going to say, I don't have time for you. I don't have time to teach somebody this. I need somebody that's going to know it immediately. You're going to find that. But you'll also find the guy that's going to say, yeah, sure, I'll hire you for $10 an hour, and I'll teach you how to read plans and specs, and I'll get you reviewing submittals and writing RFIs. And before you know it, you're a high school student with a construction internship. And even in college, like I did that in Auburn. I went and worked for McShane Construction. There, they have an office on College Street. They posted the board in the Gorey Center was great. I mean, it's covered in jobs, and even if you're not in building science, you could walk in there and find a job listing that you could probably go and apply for. And I did that. I found McShane and Mr. Ken that works there. I walked in the first day. I called him and said, I want this job. Is it still open? Yeah, can you be here tomorrow? I was like, I'll be there. And I literally just started helping with closeout. And that's one thing, like, oh, it's just closeout. But when you get in the industry and you're closing out a project, your first project, your second one, you're going to go, holy crap, I wish I had an intern here to help with closeout. because it's just a lot of paperwork.
Yeah, Jordan, that's awesome. I think you touched on a lot of cool qualities about someone that's young. You touched on someone that's obviously willing to take initiative and someone who is willing to want to learn. What are some of those qualities, added to those two that you think a young person should have coming into the construction industry?
Definitely the initiative. When we get our interns, I've had some really good interns since I started here at Austin. There's college kids that come in and they're eager. So be eager to learn, be eager to dive in, and just, I guess my first summer that I was full time had a guy, Texas State grad, came in and he's wide eyed as an intern. And I'm going, I have an intern. I've been here like 4 months. And like, yeah, teach him what to do. I was like, all right, man, good luck, because I only have 4 months full time. I've had one internship. Here we go. But he was eager to learn. I was still eager to learn in my position that I was in. And that's one thing is just go ready to dive in to whatever point that project's in. If they say, we want you in pre-con estimating, go learn how to estimate, go draw circles and squares and do takeoff. But it's a huge help. I mean, in my estimating internship, I was started out like they back check me and they do the takeoff too. And then the second time they just look at what I did. And by the end of the summer, I'm turning in numbers to the pre-con manager and they're putting it in a bid. So you learn a lot and you learn quick. And you have a bit of construction background coming from your construction program of building science, construction science, whatever it may be, civil engineering. And
Yeah.
so you kind of know what you're doing. You got your bones about you, and you just be ready to dive in head first and work hard.
Yeah.
Really
Walker,
cool.
if I can butt in here real quick.
Go for it.
Yeah, so my advice, and as someone that's very close to me, what helped me a lot was I was very timid to go ask questions, and life-changing advice I got and I received. I was willing to open and listen, but the thing that I heard was, Davis, you need to listen, you need to learn, and you need to lead with questions. If you can do those three things, really, as a high school student, like you said, you may have the opportunity to get paid $10 an hour. Hey, if you're in high school and get paid $10 an hour, I would have, rose my hand and jumped on that quick. But, we're just talking about listen, learn, lead with questions. This industry has, just a plethora of opportunities for guys that if you do those three things, they're going to be willing to give you promotion, and promotion, you're going to continue to go up and go up and go up.
Exactly. And that's the thing too, is like I have people tell me now that it's just, I think I'm struggling, like I'm having a hard time, just like you're stressed out and you're working hard, and you don't always get that attaboy of, hey, you're doing great. It's you just, this is what you're supposed to be doing, and you keep doing it. And you get to your annual review and they're like, yeah, you've been killing it this year. And you're like, thank goodness.
Man, Davis. First of all, I love that. Listen, learn, lead with questions. I wrote that down. I think that's awesome.
Yeah.
I kind of had I've learned that it's, especially in internships, it's really the people around you, especially whoever is ahead of you or in quote unquote in charge of you. If they are willing and to teach you, willing to let you know, like you were saying, you had an intern under you. My PM was awesome. His name's Johnny. He was very big on asking questions, like you've both been talking about. We would sit in meetings and owner architect contract OAC meetings, or contractor. We would, he would tell us, hey, sit in here, listen, learn, soak everything in, and write down every single thing that you didn't know or everything you have questions on. And afterwards, come grab me and say, hey, what is this? What is this? What is this? And that was one of the most, invaluable experiences to me personally, because, hey, I don't know what this is. Can you tell me? Sure. And he would take, I'd walk into his office. It was me and another intern. And we'd walk in and say, hey, what is this? Or I saw this on the plans, or, what's out? We saw this out in the field. Why do you do this? And he would take 30 minutes to an hour plus, and out of his work, he has a lot to do. He was the PM on a massive project, but he would take a lot of time out of his schedule to sit down and tell us and talk to us and say, hey, this is what you do. He'd show us the financials on the computer. This is how you put this in. This is why we do this. And I found that was, I learned more doing that than, sitting out just going through plan or going through RFIs or whatever. I learned a ton doing that, but having someone to sit down and tell me from their experience, this is what we do and this is why we do it. That was invaluable.
Definitely. That's one thing, especially as, like you said, you're writing stuff down and going to them after the meeting and saying, what is this? Sit in on an MEP meeting and your head will spin. You take meeting minutes and they're using just abbreviations for everything, and
for sure
they talk really fast, and they're just filled shorthand for whatever something may be. And even just like the technical, like there's first one I ever sat in, they're talking about FCUs, VAVs, and RBZs, and they're just throwing all this stuff around. I'm like, I'm just writing it down. And I went to somebody afterwards, like, what the heck did we just talk about? Like, what are these things? Or go and look it up. Like, you look at Google's great, but
Google's awesome.
Then you start learning a little bit on your own as well.
Yeah, I think that, I'm sorry, I kind of lost my train of thought a little bit, but just kind of what you were saying, it really applies to life in general. If a lot of people just kind of go through thinking that if you have a question or if you ask something, then people are going to think that, oh man, you're dumb. You should know that. You should, and that's just not the case. With everything in life, questions get you further in a conversation. They get you further in a meeting. Mm-hmm. Like, if you just keep on pounding someone with questions, you will get down to either the why, you get down to, someone's true thinking behind something or someone's true feeling. Even in meetings with, a superior or something, they tell you, hey, we need to do this. Okay, that's great. Can I just ask why we need to do that so I can understand and better, promote this new change or better institute this thing that we're doing in the job or on the site. I want to know why. I think why is such a great word to use.
Definitely. And that's word of advice to young people coming in, ask questions. Like, there's no such thing as a stupid question, especially in construction. I always tell the interns coming in, I'm like, we're going to walk and I'm going to talk. You ask questions. If you need to say, hey, stop, like, what is that? And like, if you have no clue what's going on, what a group of subs are doing, ask. Like, that's the only way you'll learn. Just ask. Nobody's going to heckle you for it. And at the end of the day, you've learned something.
Yeah. One of the best pieces of advice from Walker Lott was aspire to be the dumbest person in the room. And between you guys, I feel like I am. So this has been a great conversation. In closing, guys, I just wanted to give you the opportunity, Jordan, to maybe highlight some of the great parts about construction and some of the stuff that you really love about this industry.
Oh man, there's a lot. And one of the biggest things is the camaraderie. I mean, the construction industry is filled with funny people, good people or good-hearted people, and hardworking people. And coming through the way I was raised, I'm sure the same way y'all were, and also going into Auburn building science, you meet some funny people through building science and just good folks. And it continues all the way through. I mean, the entire industry is built that way. I was talking to a guy on site with one of our subs, and literally across his hard hat it says Wild Billy, and that's what they call him. And so you're going to meet people like that for the rest of your life. It doesn't stop. So I think that's one of my favorite things. And also, I mean, just work-wise, you work on one project, you finish it, and you move on to the next one. You're not sitting at a desk crunching numbers every day doing the same thing for 40 plus years. You get to actually build multiple different things. I mean, I went from a high-rise hotel condo mixed-use building to a soccer stadium, and who knows what next. So it's always interesting. And I don't know if you had Professor Olson at all, but he would always tell us, we would ask questions, and his answer is always, well, it depends. And that's always, people ask me, like you say, how does this go? Can you do this way? And well, it depends. What project are you on? What did the plan say? how are things going around it? It always depends.
Yeah, I think that's the one thing that you start learning about construction is every day is completely different, and
Yeah.
everything has a completely different answer to it.
And
But
get ready.
Jordan,
Your day's never going to go how you want it to. Like you'll have your list of things to do, maybe 2 or 3 items from the day before, and you walk in and add 10 more as soon as you walk in the door, and you're running in different directions.
Yeah,
that's for sure.
definitely be willing to adapt on the fly. That's for sure.
Definitely. Definitely.
Yeah, but Jordan, we loved having you on this podcast. You were our first guest. Really appreciated talking to you. I think that your knowledge of construction and just your experience is such a great thing that so many people can learn from and take away from. You definitely know your stuff, and I know you're learning every day.
Oh, yeah.
But it's like we were talking about earlier. Construction is you never stop learning, as with life. If you stop
Yeah.
learning in life, then you've failed. It's the
Yeah.
same thing with construction.
Yeah, guys, it was an honor to be on. First guest through the podcast, and I wish you guys the best of luck. You going in a good direction, and also in your careers as well. Definitely keep me updated on how the podcast is going, but also work life, how thesis ended up.
Yeah, man.
Hope you guys finish strong.
Appreciate it.
Thanks, Jordan.
Thanks, guys.